All right, so a little while ago I talked about how I was going to make a deck with this card. Now, this is a goofy deck. This is that deck that's not necessarily designed to win. It's designed to exploit, if you will, the station mechanic. So the goal is to station stuff as fast as possible. So what are we stationing? We got our spacecrafts. Right, so when it enters, you can destroy target non-artifact and then deal 4 damage to each creature. So it's a specific pew and then a board wipe. That's just the enter cost. 8 mana, kind of expensive. You have to station it with a 5 to get a 10/10 flying trample. This guy enters, you mill 3 cards, then you can return a creature or spacecraft from graveyard, so recursion a little bit, much cheaper. Pinnacle Kill Chip does 10 damage to something, still needs to be stationed to be flying, and a creature. This guy's 4 mana. When he enters, you draw 2 cards, discard a card, then you have to station him with 8. 2 mana, you get to surveil, turns to flying. 3 mana, and has the sort of escalating ramp, right? So 3+, you get an artifact. Whenever you cast an artifact, draw a card. 12+, it's flying and gets this extra ability. What I wasn't sure, and I think I might have cheated on this one, so this may be why this deck worked really well, is at 12+, does it have both, or does the 12+ replace the 3+? Gotta look that one up. My Entropic Battlecruiser, if they discard a card, they lose 3 life, and then you get flying and death touch. Specimen Freighter, return 2 things to their owner's hands, so you can bounce some people, so great there. So none of these are really awesome all by themselves, except this one. So once you have 20+, and the plus is important here, you can tap it and add X mana, where X is the number of charge counters. So if you put 50 on this thing, you will get 50 mana. That, my friends, is messed up. This belongs in every deck forever. Takes a while to station 20, but when you have a 2 mana commander that can station for 8, it doesn't take as long, right? So, focus of this deck. There's some cards in here that I think I'll do last that are just in here. They're not really in here for a specific purpose. These guys were in here because whenever this creature becomes tapped, untap another target. So tap your commander for 8, tap this guy for 11, untap your commander, tap him again for another 8, so you just stationed for 19 in one turn. Cheap big butt. Who doesn't love cheap big butts, right? So for 3 mana, I get 7 to station with. Yes, he goes away in 3 turns, but you can station on summon, because summoning sickness is irrelevant for stationing. So you can get 21 more stationing worth before this guy vanishes. And maybe you can attack with him. 1 mana defender, who cares? You're going to use the 4 for 1 mana, right? Anti-causal vestige, if you're really lacking, you can warp him in, get 7 from him, automatically tap, and then draw a card when he leaves the battlefield, and you can bring him back later. And also you can put a permanent card with any number of, mana value at least equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. So you can put another card on the battlefield, maybe something with an ETB effect. Warp this big ass in for 3, get another 9, right? Bring this guy in. This guy was entertaining. We'll talk about him again later. But he's a 10/1 for 3. So you bring him in. He can't be blocked, but he has a serious side effect, which came into play in the game that I played with my son. This dude was cool. You get an extra card in your hand. You can cast artifacts off the top of your library, but also you get to add mana whenever you tap. So now I can tap this guy for blue mana as well as regular mana. No, I can't cast him for 50 mana, just 1, but still. 2 mana, a 4. You can't kill him because you have to discard a card when you do. When he attacks, though, I have to put a counter on someone else, so not super wonderful. This guy comes in as a copy of something, so you can bring him in as a copy of your warped-in creature, right? So warp him in for 3, cast this for 5 now, and you have a 9/9 that's permanent. And, incidentally, flying. This is in here just because it's like you can tap it and remove counters. So if I was missing 1, but I had stationed something else, I could pull the 1 off and put it on that station. And this guy was just fun because if you warp in this for 3, this becomes a 9-0 or 9-4, at least until it disappears. But you warp this guy in, station for 9, he's a 9, station again, this guy disappears, he's back to being whatever you had before, which, you know, he's his own, he's an artifact, so he comes in as a 2-4 technically. So that's the stationing component of it. Then some other stuff. So card draw, there's a lot of card draw in here. I didn't realize how much. Card draw is fun. This one won me the game because whenever you play a land or cast a spell, you get to draw a card with the blue guy on the field. You can pull stuff off. You can cast it off the top of your library. So you cast something off the top of your library. You get to see what's next. You could be a land card, so you could put this on the stack, play the land card, or draw the land card, play the land card, draw a spell. So I was drawing constantly with this. Whenever I did damage, I drew a card, lost a life. At the end of my end step, something was always leaving the battlefield, either dying or being warped in or whatever, so I got to create another artifact, which is 2 more stationing. You can only station at sorcery, so at the beginning of your end step, you're still in your end step, you can station in your end step, so you can still use that. This is fun if your thing's about to get pew-pewed. You can just tap this and give it this ability. When it's about to be dealt damage, you draw that many cards, get that much life. This one, obvious card draw engine that belongs in any blue deck ever. Put a charge counter on it, and then draw for each charge counter on it. This one's kind of a throwaway, just to force myself to be able to draw a card or flash in a flying blocker, right, or any kind of blocker. Surveil X, where X is the number of artifacts you control. There's a lot of artifacts in this deck. And then draw 3 cards. Draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. If something left the battlefield, something's constantly leaving the battlefield in this deck. You can draw 2 cards, and each opponent loses 2 life. Another kicker where you can look at X and pull 2 or 1, depending on what you did. Diabolic Intent. It's sacrifice something, so you can force something to leave the battlefield for all these other cards, and then tutor for something, like that. And it's any card, so I can tutor for that legendary spaceship that I want, or the land that I want, which we'll talk about in a second. Tap somebody else's creature, draw a card. Lots of artifacts, so +1/+1 counter for each. Or you can sack an artifact when it comes in and then draw a card. Whenever this creature becomes tapped, draw a card, discard a card. Whenever your creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw that many cards. There's lots of flying stuff in this deck too. This creature can't be blocked if you cast 2 or more spells. This is kind of just in here, except it gets to draw a card, right? So again, all in the card draw area. These are questionable when I was going through this. I'm not sure why they're all in here. Is that true? No, these are recursion, sort of. So you can sacrifice an artifact or creature, and then you return something from your graveyard to the battlefield. So say somebody blows up your Eternity Elevator, you can bring it back, right? Because it's kind of the focus of this deck, even though it's not the commander. And you also get to create a lander token bonus. This guy just is going to get bigger every time you do anything, and he's a cheap blocker, because that was one of the things I noticed is I didn't have a lot of cheap cards. Whenever another artifact you control enters, you create something you can sacrifice. That's going to come in handy. This is just sort of protection, right? So they can't attack you unless they pay 2 for every creature they're attacking you with. This one in, you can flash it in, give your creature hexproof, a little bit of protection for your commander or for your, well, that's not going to turn into a creature, but one of the creatures that you've labored so hard to station, and then just sort of utility that you can cost 2 less. So these are a little less intentful in this deck. Tezzeret, whenever an artifact you control enters, put a loyalty counter, pay 0, untap. So I can tap for 20 plus mana, and then pay 0, untap it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's only if it's an artifact creature. But untap it, and tap it again, get 20 more mana. So almost limitless mana if they're both on the field. Same thing, untap another target permanent you control by tapping this guy. Or you can collect evidence and tap someone else's creature if you're desperate. I went through those already. I went through that already. So some of the ramp that I have. So Diabolic Intent, just because I had it. Soul Ring, because it's in every commander deck ever. And then this guy, just for a little bit of ramp, to be able to spend some more blue mana if I need to. Light Graveyard Hate with a Bojuka Bog. There's another one in here. I think it's in this pile. And then the lands that I put in, not a lot of great reasons for some of these. I mean, I don't have any search for lands, but you know, if you have 2 or more basic lands, it's tapped. The Creeping Tar Pit, I just have it. Can create another sack outlet if I need it. Watery Grave, just because I had it. This is the station land for black. So I can station this, pay 2 life, sacrifice a creature, and draw some cards. So why not? This is just, again, more ramp, 3 color. Search your library for an artifact card. So if I'm desperate, I can sack this thing and go get my elevator. Command Tower is just obvious. This one also came in handy because if I can play a land when I can draw a card with this card, pause for a second. So if whenever I play a land, I can draw a card, I can use this to put a basic land card from my hand onto the battlefield. So if I have a land in my hand, I play the land, I get to draw a card. I can already see the top card of my deck with that blue card, so I can like really basically guarantee I'm going to spend all the mana that I'm about to have. Which is going to come up in a second here. More Graveyard Hate. I think I got to check and make sure I have an actual desert in this deck, or a couple of them. This one, right? Pay 12, 1 blue, and tap, or station it, 1 blue and tap. Add 1 mana for each artifact you control. Again, almost everything in here is an artifact. Blast Zone. Destroy each non-land permanent with value equal to the number of charge counters you have. So you can basically selectively board wipe. Put something on a non-human. Dimir, extra mana. This one really doesn't belong in here, but maybe I'll swap that out for a desert. And just pause for a second. Do I have any deserts? I don't think I have any deserts. No, so that would not make much sense to keep. Bojuka Bog, again, more Graveyard Hate. And then the last set in here is sort of interaction, right? So +3, it's going to make a butt bigger. That's why it's in here. When this guy enters, +X+0, where X is the number of artifact you control, so you can make someone's butt bigger. Counter, make a lander, so you can sack and get a land, or just sack the lander if you've got plenty of land. Search for your artifact, or return an artifact from your graveyard. So again, if they killed it already, you can take it out. If you haven't found it yet, you can go get it. This one is basically -10, -10, because something's always leaving the battlefield. So you can kill just about anything. You can force somebody to not be able to block, and that's a little bit of extra big butt. Kill a target or creature, or spacecraft. Sorry. You can tap an opponent's creature and stun it, so you could warp this in, stun their commander or whatever they're relying on their deck for, and make that unusable just for 3 mana, and then bring it back later for 6. Counter. If they were using less mana, so if they did something sneaky or they copied it or whatever, you can counter it and then draw a card, which is cool. This came in handy too, because I could untap everything at the beginning of my end step, untap my two mana sources, and then tap them again to draw cards. Right, so almost infinitely draw cards. And then I can play stuff, I can draw cards, so pretty crazy. Sacrifice non-token black creature rather than pay the spell's mana cost. So force people to sack stuff for free if you need to. Sacrifice a creature, destroy target or planeswalker, or spacecraft, sorry. If someone's blocking you, you can blow them up and then give them +2/+0 and indestructible, so make your guy live. Destroy a target creature. When this creature enters, destroy up to 1 target, so lots of destroy. Then there's the extra turn. So there's this guy and this guy, which I actually was able to use this because if you put this card on this guy when you have your 9/9 on the board, he's a 9/0 plus, you know, if he's wearing this, he's a 12, and suddenly this is a 3-mana card that you can exile and take an extra turn. And I think that's pretty much how it played out. This thing, you get to take an extra turn and then shuffle it back into your library. It never goes away. So, little graveyard hate. This is one I can see in every deck from now on. Is Dauntless Scrapbot. When this creature enters, exile opponent's graveyard. Create a land or token. So you get a land, you get to sacrifice, you get to get rid of people's graveyard, and it's colorless. Bounce a non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If it was attacking, then you also create a token with flying. So something to sack later, counter a target artifact or enchantment. You can exile a target creature or planeswalker, return 1 or 2 creatures or planeswalkers from your graveyard to your hand, and or put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, gains life until end of turn. So really how it plays out is you want to have this on the battlefield as fast as possible. You want to get your blue mana source on pretty much as fast as possible, and then you want to station both, right? Once they're stationed, you can do whatever you want. Anybody who's played Commander and got mana starved in the past knows that being mana starved sucks. And so ramping like this, protecting your artifacts, being able to recur them afterwards, making sure you can station them again if you have to bring them back from dead, is key to this deck. It did work. It was a little slow. I've made some changes since, so I'll let you know how it works out the next time I talk about it. But once it went off in a large way, right? Because again, being able to play a card, whenever you play a land or cast a spell, you draw a card, and if you have almost infinite mana, you can play that card, thereby allowing you to draw a card, right? So you basically just, your board ramps like crazy. And this was no negative to this, because your starting life total is 40 in Commander, so you get to have 20 at the end of your turn at all times. It's not the beginning of your turn, so if someone did damage to you and you only have 1 life left at the end of your end step, you now have 20. So that came in handy too, because somebody had to punch me for 20 to get me out of the game. The card I wanted to talk about later, where was he? I think he's in here, the Big Butt deck. This guy, yeah. So the problem with this guy was my son had a card that said, if you would run out of cards, cast a creature from your graveyard instead. So he was not going to die because he had no cards. He was pulling it out of the graveyard. And so I ended up having to actually kill my own creature. I had one of the exiled cards. I killed it because I couldn't sacrifice it at the time. So I killed him and then attacked, and that's how I won. But just fun interaction. Commander's mostly useless because until you have to send 8, so 8 or more creatures in the graveyard, he can't do anything, which means he's not a threat to people. So when you pull him out, they don't worry about killing him because they don't care. You can use his ability when he's out. You just can't attack until you have 8 or more cards in your graveyard. So he is really a station effect until later in the game when he doesn't have to be anymore, and he's flying or he's indestructible, and you can start swinging with a big butt. So yeah, again, it worked out really great. Have made some changes and excited to see if I can do more with this, and excited to get more station objects into the play. So if you like this kind of content, let me know. There's a guy on YouTube that I follow and watches stuff pretty religiously, that he makes $100 decks, and that was sort of the goal for me as well, is less about making a $100 deck, because I'm sure there's some cards in here that are really valuable, but more about making a deck with cards that I have that works, that is more entertaining. It's not designed to win on turn 3 or 4. It's designed to interact with your opponents, or it's designed to have sort of creative win cons that make it more fun to play. And this deck definitely fit that bill. So if you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.